Legal breakdowns, commentary for you. It's the weekly legal review. Oh yeah, it's the weekly legal review. Every Sunday we got the news. Legal breakdowns, commentary for you.
All right. Thank you for tuning in to Watching the World. We're here with criminal defense attorney Calvin Johnson, and what a privilege it is to have you, brother.
What's up? What's up, Mel? Man, once again, it's on.
Yes, sir. So just so everybody's coming in, my name is Mel, Watching the World. And what I typically do, I cover trials, and I go to every day of trial, including jury selection. And then I have the chance to come back and bring on a criminal defense attorney that's been doing it for 25 years and able to ask him questions in accordance to the trial. And that's what makes it amazing, right? So you guys get to hear the background information pertaining to the trial, but also get the legal breakdown. Calvin, could you please tell everyone who you are, where you're from, and just how you present these cases?
Well, first of all, my name is Attorney Calvin D. Johnson. I have been a practicing attorney in Dallas, Texas, doing state, local, and federal criminal defense almost for the last 25 years. I'm in my 24th year. I'm also in the 24th year of having my own law firm. I have handled criminal cases at the local, state, and federal level. In addition to that, I was one of Chris Bosh's lawyers at the 2003 NBA draft. I worked for Chris Bosh Foundation, and I've done a number of things. I've also worked with local hip-hop artists here in Dallas, Seven the Great, Picasso Verdelic, and a few other guys. But I mainly do criminal defense. And so when people call me, when people have issues, when they're in trouble and they're at midnight hour, they call me. And so I've been doing this for a number of years. I have 25 years of experience in the courtroom. And in addition to that, even before I became a lawyer, I actually finished at the High School for Public Services, Government and Law in Dallas, Texas. So I went to a high school that specialized on legal and legal issues. And so I've been knowing for the last 35 years that this is what I was going to do in my life. And of course, ran into Mel, and Mel's going to all of these trials on a daily basis, sitting there watching every bit of the testimony, making sure that he reaches out to the people that are in the know. And we decided to bring it to you, bring it to the public. So today we got Mel, DJ Genesis, and Attorney Calvin D. Johnson on the weekly legal review with Watching the World 777.
We really appreciate your knowledge. You know, I heard something just online from a very prominent attorney as well, but they said this judge for Sean Puffy Combs' case, Judge Submarinian, said that perhaps he's only been a judge for about 2 years, and this was his first big criminal case. I was shocked because, as I said in court, he was right on the money. What are your thoughts about that when it comes to actually sentencing in the case in general?
The deal is, and see, this is what I was trying to explain to everyone. He's not going to want to just jump off into giving people a sentence that's out of the range or below the range. He's a new judge, and he doesn't want to come off as being too light on those who are actually convicted of crimes. Now, we know Puffy does not have a big criminal history. I think that to me personally, I know he's served some time, up to 11 months in jail so far. I don't think he should get a lot of time for these convictions based on what other people would get. But as an attorney, we have to tell the clients, hey, you got a new judge. You got somebody that has not had a lot of criminal trials. You're getting a lot of blowback because it involves women, it involves trafficking, and there had been some allegations, even though Mr. Combs had not been convicted of the assault with Cassie. It was just a bad look. And so this particular judge is going to be very careful in his sentencing. And to me, today's judges, especially a second year judge, I don't know how lenient he's going to be to Mr. Combs. And so that's why when people were talking about he going to time serve him and let him go home and all that, I just didn't see that, because he's had the opportunity to let him go home on 3 or 4 occasions, and he's chose not to do that. I think he's going to have to give him some time to make him as an example, but he's not going to give him way too much time, because Mr. Combs did beat the majority of the charges. And so that's why I was saying he'll probably do another couple of years, 2 to 2.5 years, another 2 to 3 years on top of what he's done so far. And we'll see how this shakes out. There are a lot of people that disagree with me now. You know, some people think that they can go do some Fed time and they make some legal expert. But in my situation, I'm saying maybe another 1.5 years, 2 years, 3 years max. But they're going to make him do some more time. That's just what I think. Now, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But if I had to tell my client, I'll be honest with him. I'll say, I'm trying to keep you from going. But Doc, these are the parameters. These are the situations. And these are the things that we're going to be fighting. And I think the judge is going to allow more points to get added up on Mr. Combs so that he can justify his sentence. And I think that's going to run together, because some people are saying, well, his points should be here, which would only keep him at a couple of years or less. And that's why he's going to get less time. To me, the judge is looking for a reason based on what you shared with me, Mel, and what we've been seeing. They're looking for a reason to be justified in adding the points, so that I think he can add some time to what he's already done. But that's just me.
All right. So I was sitting in court throughout this entire trial. But let's go back in time. When they had the opening arguments, they stated basically the defense said, listen, our client, there's 2 cases here. There's a case of RICO that the prosecutors want you to think this guy is guilty of racketeering. Then there's a second case that involves evidence and evidence only. And basically they said in that case that involves evidence, Sean Combs, he admits he's an alcoholic, on drugs. He admits to domestic violence, but he doesn't have a criminal enterprise. So after the verdict came down, we know what the verdict was. Mark Agnifilo stood up and says, hey, Your Honor, my client should be allowed to go home today because he basically beat the top 3 charges. He only has these 2 Mann Act charges left, right? Mm-hmm. The judge then came back at the end of the day. He flipped the script. He says, listen, I can't let the client go home because he's a danger. You guys conceded at the beginning of the trial that he's been guilty of domestic violence, right? Mm-hmm. This week, it broke out in the news that Diddy is perhaps, it's just a rumor, that he's taken classes or so forth, therapy for domestic violence. Do you think that's going to play a role here?
I think it will. I think it's a situation where he realizes that he does have some issues with maybe taking things too far, maybe with some of what his anger is. And I think it's really good that he at least did that, because you got some guys that will sit there and then won't do a thing. I think it's going to help him somewhat. But with that being said, I think it's very hard to get past the optics of what happened to Cassie. And that's why I try to explain to everybody. They go, well, he didn't get convicted of that. That's not a charge he got convicted of. But as a judge, do you think the judge can block that out of his mind? Probably not. But I thought it helped Diddy for that. He realized he has that issue, and he jumped up and went to take the classes. I think that's really good. And we try to tell our clients when they get in this situation, preemptively, you need to do some things like that to help yourself.
Let me ask you a question. Let's say in court, when different attorneys come in, are there some attorneys that the judge look at and says, hey, he made this statement, but I have to go research it? Or are there some attorneys like Maureen Comey that the judge puts a lot of credence to off the bat, and said when they make statements or they push for certain things, they're likely to get it?
Well, the other thing is people have to realize Miss Comey at the time probably was going to be back in that court, not just one time, it may be multiple times. So sometimes when a judge realizes that he is going to be dealing with a state lawyer on a regular basis, there's a little bit more of a camaraderie that's built depending on the past relationship that they had. Now, I know Ms. Comey and the judge didn't work together a lot because he had only been a judge for 2 years. But when you're a judge and you see the same prosecutors come in on a repeated basis, typically you're going to build some kind of relationship with them. And then a lot of the judges know that those attorneys, prosecutors won't try to sneak things past them, because if they do, they know they got to keep seeing this judge. So if as a judge, if I can't trust your word and you keep coming in here with stuff, the next time I see you, I'm gonna punish you for it. And so when I say punish you for it, if you are dishonest with me and putting some facts upon the court, and then 2 months ago you got another case, well, I'm gonna be looking at everything that you're doing when you bring a case in front of me. In addition to that, I may not buy some of your arguments, and I may side with the defense just because you're not trustworthy, you're not on top of your business, and you try to pull the veil over the court's eyes. And so that's why sometimes the judge and the prosecutor, the judge will say, I kind of take them at their word, because they know that they have to see them again.
Okay. Were you shocked when you found out that Maureen Comey had been fired from her office there in New York City, Southern District?
It doesn't surprise me. When you have somebody like Trump and the people that are in power right now, even though she got 2 convictions, she didn't get the big convictions she wanted. That's one issue. But the flip side of that is, would Donald Trump even want somebody trying a case like this, right? So when I say trying a case like this, we know Mr. Trump has his own issues. We know Mr. Trump is a man with money, power, and influence. We know Puffy's a man with money, power, and influence. Do you want to put your name out there as trying to convict men of money, power, and influence when you got the ultimate money, power, and influence man in office? It didn't surprise me that they fired her. In addition to that, she probably knows about a whole lot of stuff that they don't want people to find out about. So it did not surprise me that she was removed, especially under the current circumstances of how things are being handled with the new administration.
Do you think it would have an effect on the overall sentencing?
I don't think it does. I think ultimately that particular judge is in place. I think he doesn't want to be the judge that slap Puffy on the hand and let him go home, and that's the optics of it. And see, these are the things that I try to tell people. A lot of people we've talked to, even when it comes to Puffy, they get emotionally involved. And don't get me wrong, as a lawyer, sometimes I get emotionally involved. But when it comes to my clients, I will be telling Mr. Combs, hey, let's try to keep this number down. I don't know if he's going to do a time serve, but hey, let's try to keep it to where you can be out of here within a year or less so you can move on with your life. And then that's what we realistically should be shooting for. But as far as them giving you time served, I don't know if they're going to do that. But if we do well today, maybe we can keep it another year or less and we can have you to the house. That's what I would be telling Mr. Combs. And then that's, to me, that's a realistic expectation.
When it comes to federal court and you have a new judge, is the judge on like a probationary period where others are looking in on his decisions, or can he pretty much do what he wants to do?
He can do what he wants to do, but the rest of the judiciary is looking at him, right? And then you have to understand, if you're a federal judge, maybe you want to get moved up to maybe an appeals court judge or a Supreme Court justice eventually. So what you want to do is you want to hand out fair decisions that don't get reversed, and you don't want to come out being too aggressive or too lenient. And so that's why what I was telling you is that judge has a lot of power to do what he wants to do. He can accept the fact, if he has the lawyers brief him on this. Remember, he's basically telling the state to brief him on situations involving uppage of points, right? Because he knows that's what the state is seeking. And if the state can make a compelling argument of that, he's going to allow Puffy's points to go up so he can sentence him to more time. And so, because he just doesn't want to come off as being a judge too soft. And people have to understand, new judges, they have a lot of leeway. They're not on any probation or anything, but they don't want to be the judge that lets somebody get a slap on the wrist in a high profile case, especially not in this administration. That's not the route you want to go.
So guys, we see a lot of people are placing comments. I'd like to ask you guys to hit the like button. It's very good to have a criminal defense attorney that's willing to come on every week and kind of break down even your questions that you submit as well. So please take a moment, just hit the like button. If you really like the material, you could also hit the alert button, so that every time we go live, you could be the first to know. Calvin, could you just take a moment? We have a lot of people in the building, 150. Could you just take a moment and explain again who you are and where you practice at?
Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like you got knocked off. So I'm basically asking you again to just tell everybody, we have a lot of people in the room, tell them where you're from and where you practice law at.
My name is Attorney Calvin D. Johnson. I've been a practicing attorney here in Texas for the last 24, 25 years. I've been doing state, local, and federal criminal defense. I've been to federal court before. I've been to federal court on trafficking cases before. So I've done a lot of work these last 25 years as a criminal defense attorney. I've had thousands of clients over the last 25 years almost. In addition to that, even before I went to law school, I went to the High School for Public Services, Government and Law, which is a magnet school in Dallas, Texas, that basically centers around on people who want to get involved in the legal profession. And so that's what I did. I went to college, and right after college, I went to work in a law firm. I worked in the records department of one law firm, and then I went on to work as a project assistant in the second largest law firm in the world at the time, was Jones Day Reeves and Bogue, and I worked on tobacco litigation for that particular firm. So I have a long history in the legal profession. Even before I became an attorney, all I've done basically the majority of my life is work as a lawyer or work in law-related interests. So that's why Mel has me on the show, and he has me on the show because I have almost a quarter century of expertise in the criminal defense area.
That's awesome. So we have quite a few loyal supporters in the building. I'm shocked. Even my sister is here, Shamika Harris. That's my sister. Welcome, sis. It's nice to have you on. This is the first time I'm seeing you in the comments. We have Sharon back, and Deborah's always here as well. We have Caddy, Southern Horseman. So a lot of familiar names. Oh, we have Lavender in the house. Check her out. She always does videos about hair care. So a lot of the women in the group, or men too, might want to go check out and see what she does as well. So we have a lot of good people in the audience. So Calvin, this is my concern. I would like for you to break it down if you could. When Diddy was trying to get bail for so many times, he was rejected. We sat through the trial. A lot of times it seems I expressed so well. I sat in the courthouse. It looked like during the course of testimony, like from Cassie and also especially Jane Doe, it looked like the judge was looking at Diddy mean mugging, as they would say in the street, right? When it came down to his verdict, right? Really, in most cases, the guy should have been able to go home.
Mm-hmm.
But the judge again came back and says, no, he's a hazard, danger, perhaps to society, some words of that sort. So what makes people think that the judge is going to be so lenient right off the bat when October the 3rd, the sentencing date comes?
You know, I think a lot of people look at this situation and thought that the government overcharged on Mr. Combs. Some of us may not like Mr. Puffy Combs because of some of the behaviors he's allegedly been involved in. Let's be honest, a lot of us idolize Mr. Combs because of his place in hip hop. Like, if you're a hip hop head like me and Mel and a lot of us who watch this, I mean, Puffy's music litters our lives. I mean, from Biggie Smalls to all the way back to the Heavy D days, which he, in a sense, had played a part in with Uptown Records. And then we got Faith Evans, and we got our boy Mason Betha, you know what I mean? Our boy Mason. Then we have Loon, and we have all of these artists over the years that Mr. Combs, Mary J. Blige, you know, when you start talking about Sean Puffy Combs, a lot of people get in their feelings about Mr. Combs, and I can understand that. But the realistic part of this is that when you have a situation like this, and you see that a judge is repeatedly denying Mr. Combs the ability to go home, tells me that he considers Mr. Combs somewhat of a threat to somebody. He considers him somewhat of a threat to society because of the money, power, and influence he holds in just in his position of hip hop and having a lot of money and his wealth. And you have victims that are out there that are still not Team Puffy Combs, which means you still got Cassie out there and her folks and some other people who may not care for Mr. Combs that much. But I have to explain to people, you have to watch the tendencies of a judge, right? Everything that I do as an attorney, like in Dallas, Texas, I know all of the tendencies of the 30 some odd judges that I go in front of. I know each and every tendency they have, what they like, what they don't like, what they're most likely to accept, what they're not likely to accept. Even on certain days, if I'm going in there, or certain cases I'm going in there and I'm seeing certain things, that's going to tell me as an attorney, hey, this judge may not care for this situation or this particular individual enough for me to want to think that he's going to go lenient and be lenient with my client. And with Mr. Combs, he has turned Mr. Combs down for a mistrial. He's turned him down at least 4 times when he had the ability to give him a bond and he chose not to. And he repeatedly continues not to give him a bond and not to put him in a position to where he can be free. And initially, when he seemed like he was going to let him go home, he goes back in chambers, comes back with a completely different attitude based on what my man Mel is telling me, because Mel goes to trial every day and he sees what the judge is doing and is not doing. That doesn't tell me that he's going to be lenient on Mr. Combs. If he was going to let Mr. Combs go home, he would have let him go ahead and make bail on his last time and let him go on his way. But to me, I don't see him doing that this time because he didn't let him go home then, and I don't think he's letting him go home now. With that being said, I don't think he's going to give Mr. Combs 10 years or 6 years or 7 years or 8 years. I don't think he's going to do anything like that. But I think that the fact that Mr. Combs has already done about 11 months, I could see it anywhere from 1.5 to 3 more years him doing actually in jail is what I'm kind of thinking about based on the situation. And it's because this new judge is going to want to set a precedent of, hey, when you come to my court, I'm not going to go super light on you. I'll be fair, but I'm not going to go light on you. And I think that's where he's trying to fall, in the middle.
So I was sitting in court and I noticed Mark Agnifilo, he gave the closing arguments or closing statements to the jury. And I noticed Mama Combs was sitting on the far left. The bench is like church pews. It lines up about 7 people. You had Mama Combs, you had the 3 sons lined up, and then you had his 3 daughters, the twins and the other girl. I think they're all around 18. And then Mark Agnifilo stood up and he says, listen, his family is here today, and he also has a smaller child, I guess around a year old or something like that. Is that just a myth, or does it help you when your family show up to your case if you had one?
It does help because it shows that you have family support. Sometimes I tell people as a judge, what am I letting this defendant go home to? Am I letting him go home to nothing? Or am I letting him go home to just another den of debauchery? Or am I letting him go home where I know he looks at his family and says, you know what? Do I want to put my mother, my daughter, my children, my future children in a situation where I might want to be away, might end up being away from them if I get in trouble again? And so when you have a lot to lose and you got your family there, it eases the judge's mind that you may curb the behavior that caused you to get convicted in the first place. Like I'll say this, and I can't speak for Mr. Combs, but I seriously doubt he ever wants to be in the situation he's in right now ever again in life, based on him having to go through this, based on people knowing all his personal information, based on how hip hop is and his legacy. He doesn't want to ever go through this again. So you line your family up out there to try to show that you don't want to do this again. And the judge will look at that as like, he's less likely to reoffend because he has this family here that's going to be part of his healing process and his rehabilitation process.
Okay. Today I was driving down the road and I saw this sign. It made me think about, it looked like it was OnlyFans on a car. And I thought about a point in court. I said, let me ask Calvin, Jane Doe, when she was in court, they were trying to prove coercion. And so they basically said what she said, that she had a friend that was making like 4 million a year doing OnlyFans.
Mm-hmm.
So she wanted to do it too, to establish some money for herself, because unlike Cassie, she didn't appear to have a stream of income.
Mm-hmm.
But they put the argument out by way of the prosecution. Oh, Diddy wouldn't let her do that, so this is coercion. Doesn't that seem like a stretch?
It does seem like a stretch because when you think about it, Diddy can say, well, I don't want you to do that. And if you do it, he can choose not to see you anymore. And that's probably what he was going to do. But it doesn't mean coercion. You make a choice. You can do the OnlyFans or you can keep rocking out with me. And see, a lot of this situation, this is why we got to be careful with this trafficking label. A lot of these people have choices. A lot of people in trafficking don't have choices. A lot of the girls involved in trafficking are underage and don't have anything to go to. They're not even grown. They don't have family members they can lean back on. They've never made any money. They're typically, they have no skills. They can't sing, act, or dance, or do any of the stuff that some of these other people could do. And they don't, some of them don't have access to even cell phones. I want y'all to think about that. Some of them have zero access. And now these guys out here now won't even give them access to a cell phone for fear that they may talk to somebody else or may report them. A lot of people involved in this public calm situation, they're not like that. Now, public can say, hey, if you do A, I'm not going to deal with you anymore. And I'm not going to give you money anymore like I used to. But, hey, that happens in normal relationships in the world. So when you start thinking about that, is that really coercion, or is that you making a choice and then you taking an action and having a reaction to your choice? I mean, that's not really coercion. That's action and reaction to me. But that's just me.
So let's talk a little bit more about coercion. In the case of Cassie, basically the prosecution was trying to say, listen, Cassie wanted to cut a record with Common. Common had reached out, wanted to do a song. Diddy said no. The defense says, well, in the seat that he sits in, he has the right to say no, because maybe he thought the song would not have been very effective. But isn't it strange that the government would try to make a big deal about a matter that he has a right to speak on?
Well, hell, they don't understand music. There's certain people that you don't want folks to collaborate with. That might, Common and Cassie may not be in that same lane, even though they're musical artists. You might not want to pair Cassie with Super Clean Common. You might have wanted to pair her with somebody that you thought was going to help boost her career a little bit more. And as an artist development creator and person like Mr. Combs, you really get to decide how that person is going to move forward. But you paid them in advance, and you want to see return on your advance. And so you can freely feel like, hey, if I don't want them to do a song with person A, maybe that's not what we should do. And Puffy was in his full free reign to do that. That's not coercion. That's just saying, as Puffy, and if Puffy is experienced at doing this, hey, that's maybe a collaboration that's not going to work for you and work for us. So let's not do it. And the fact that the state tried to use that, I think, was weak Kool-Aid. You know, I talk about that 1 week pack Kool-Aid that people drink, where it's all sugar, very little flavor, sugar water, weak, and that's just kind of what it is. I thought that was a very weak governmental argument.
Right. Jane Doe had testified that a man by the name they called Bear, they did not identify him, gave her $9,000. We didn't get a very distinct explanation as to why. But then she also talked about she flew out behind Diddy's back, and she got with this gentleman along with his wife or girlfriend, and they were having a freak off. And they also used the same sex worker that her and Diddy would use for a freak off. The very next day, Kanye West came to the courthouse, and many people tried to rumor that Kanye was that rap artist that was having that freak off of some sort, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they did not allow him to go into the main courtroom. It seems that came, rumor has it, right? Allegedly, this came from the defense.
Mm-hmm.
Is the defense very concerned about who attends the trial, especially when Diddy did not have a lot of high-profile people coming to his aid? Do they have a right to really do that?
Well, you want to be careful about who shows up because of the optics. You know, that's why you got to be extremely careful. Do you want certain people even coming to your trial? Probably not. They don't control that. Now you can't tell who to come. It's a free country. You can go to a trial if you want to come. But at the same time, from a public relations standpoint, and then knowing Kanye like you know him, like he does what he does, then everybody has to be careful.
Okay. So have you ever had a case where perhaps you may have shut someone out from attending a trial because of maybe the nature of the person?
I'll tell you, yeah, man, I had a situation where I had this family, and matter of fact, one of the people that one of my guys did dirt with in a drug case showed up to the sentencing, and I was looking at him like, man, you need to get out of here. They might figure out you were involved in doing what he was doing. And I think literally what I found out later on is, and I had some suspicions that they kept claiming that they didn't know what was in the U-Haul and all of this. But my spidey senses told me, my hood radar told me y'all knew and y'all were getting paid, and y'all didn't tell old Calvin what the amount was, and y'all think Calvin don't know. And come to find out, the guy came to the citizen. I kept peeking over my shoulder like, man, if you don't get out of here, they might realize, you know, I'm already got him in trouble. You gonna get in trouble. And what happened was they were not honest with me. Things did not go like they needed to go because they were extremely dishonest with their attorney. And then after the sentencing happened, the guy came to me and said, Calvin, you're right. We were getting paid a lot more. He didn't tell you this and that. They were paying us a lot more. And that's when I knew. I was like, oh, wow, you know, I guess I was right. But there are situations where, man, sometimes you don't want certain people coming in because, you know, the state, they know who this person has contact with. They may come in and one of your agents or one of your people on the other side might say, wait a minute. Hey, isn't that so-and-so from us? And you don't even want, because that becomes the unknown, right? You're ready to go to court. Somebody shows up. You didn't anticipate even being there. They have problems that you didn't even research. So it's almost like getting punched in the mouth by Mike Tyson, right? Everybody got a plan to get punched in the mouth. And some of these people randomly showing up with their random issues could be a punch in the mouth. Then you lose your plan. And so that's why as attorneys, sometimes you don't want just anybody showing up.
I saw Mama Combs one time talking, several times she would be talking to the defense attorneys about perhaps her concerns about the case. Is that normal when you're defending a person that the family members may contact you every day, like they're nervous, anxious about the case? What does that look like?
Well, I'll tell you, I've had several situations where family members were contacting me. And when it comes to mothers and sons, and you can tell Sean has an affliction and loves his mother. He loves Mama Combs. And look, don't get me wrong, I love my mama too. So, and I love my mom, my grandmother, like they're queens, and they are queens. And so she is one of the people who truly loves him through good and bad. And so as an attorney, I know that they're going to have their concerns, but I try to make sure that they understand that, hey, I'm in control of this. Let me do what I do. I know you may have concerns, but do not allow those concerns to get in the way of the plan that I have for your son, because I'm the one that's experienced in doing this. And sometimes we'll have family members that are too hands-on, and sometimes they will truly get in the way, and you have to identify those folks and keep them from being an impediment to actually getting your client a good situation. And what you got to do in the beginning is set boundaries and make sure that those boundaries are followed. But doing the way, there are going to be people that are concerned about their loved one, and you're just going to have to deal with it.
Okay, very good. So here's a question I wanted to ask you. When you're defending a person, is there a time when you ever get emotional to the point where maybe you contest with the judge? Because remember in Young Thug's case, not to get off topic, but even in this case, Brian Steele was very stern on different points. In fact, in Young Thug's case, I think he was threatened to be locked up. So how does that work with you being an attorney?
Man, I'm gonna tell you, sometimes you can. It's funny. I was out in Tarrant County about a month and a half ago, and I thought my client was being mistreated. I was promised a hearing. I showed up. They didn't give me a hearing, and they were trying to throw my guy in jail and make me wait to have a hearing on the issue that I wanted to have it on. In addition to that, I had evidence that maybe my client was being wronged. And so, yeah, I really went in hard advocating for my client because I felt like that they were mistreating him. And sometimes you have to stand up to the system. because in some places they will try to mistreat your client. But what you got to do is you got to object to that. You can be passionate about it, but you don't want to do your client a disservice by angering the judge. But there are certain things that, as an attorney, when you see your client being wrong, you got to stand up for him. One thing I'll give Brian Steele is I give him, that OG award, because when the judge in Georgia on a Young Thug situation tried to hold him in contempt, he wanted to make sure, if I'm going to jail, just put me in the same cell as my guy so we can get ready for Monday. And I love that about him, because a lot of us attorneys, especially the defense attorneys, I mean, we got people's lives in our hands. And so a lot of us take that serious. And I try to tell people all the time, the benefit of me to you and winning your case isn't just for me and you. It also helps me in the future. It helps you in the future, because it allows you to continue to go do whatever you're doing. And then on my end, I want to see people go home. So I'm fighting as hard as hell to make sure everybody go home. That's why my website is theywon'tletmeout.com. I want people to get let out. That's the whole reason behind why I do what I do.
Right. In the Sean Puffy Combs case, I noticed that Mark Agnifilo, he's rather apologetic. I'm sorry. He has a very conversational way of talking to the jury, whereas Brian Steele was more of a matter of fact, to the point, sometimes very contesting. Which style works, or do they both work at different points?
What that defense team was doing is yin and yang, which man say yin and yang, right? There's some people that like Mr. Steele's, and there's some people that like Mr. Agnifilo's approach. But the best teams have a balance of those two, or an extreme of those two, which allows people to meet in the middle. I think that wasn't just by coincidence. I think that they knew who they were and how they were going to be with this particular jury. So I think that depending on the jury, certain things work. I had a quite eventful week. I had a jury trial this week that ended in a mistrial, because we think, and I'll say this, I think that the complaining witness actually faked a heart attack, but that's a whole nother conversation. But see, when I try to tell you, when he was faking that heart attack, there were 12 people on the jury, and 3 of them were concerned. The other 9 had their lips up to the left side, like, hey, I think this guy's faking. So you just never know what side or who in the jury is going to like or believe what.
So here's a question that I have for you. I noticed during Diddy's trial, because we're about to get to Trump and also Carmelo Anthony. So for everybody in the audience, we're going to spend some time on Diddy. We're going to get into Trump and Epstein, and then we're going to finish out with Carmelo Anthony, which is right in our attorney's Calvin Johnson's backyard. So that should be exciting as well. But I noticed in this case, some of the witnesses or victims that came on the stand, I noticed that the attorneys were really breaking them down and getting right to the point and rather aggressive. But then, just like Cassie's mother, they didn't even ask too many questions. They just wanted to ask her just factual questions, and they let her be. Why is that the case?
Man, you don't ever want to attack somebody's mom on the stand. And when I say that, you got to be aware that as a mother, you don't want to come off as the a-hole who went after somebody's mother while they were on the stand. There's certain jurors that will not like you. Like if I was on a jury and I saw an attorney aggressively questioning a grandmother on the stand, I am the wrong guy to do that in front of. You are not going to be my friend at that point. So what you're trying to do as a defense attorney is show deference and respect to what people are going to have deference and respect to. You don't go hard at women. You try not to go hard at mothers, and you don't go after grandmothers, or you don't go after nice older people, and you don't go after children. And so you have to be very delicate when you ask those groups of people's questions. So that's why they were not overly aggressive when it came to the mothers and those type witnesses. But when it came to the witnesses that were involved in whatever, then they went a little harder on them.
Okay, so one final question before we switch gears. Could you help us understand the point system when it comes down to sentencing for Sean Puffy Combs?
The point system basically, and in a nutshell, without going over his in particular or really kind of going to his particular, what happens is your offense, let's say I committed trafficking, And let's say trafficking carries, if you get convicted of it, it automatically carries 14 points. Somebody that is at 14 points, and we'll just use as a hypothetical, maybe you can get between 20 and 27 months, or 21 and 27 months when you have 14 points. And so what happens is, if I'm the state, I'm going to want what? I'm going to want more points, so that as the points go up, the range in sentencing goes up. So let's say 14 gives you 21 to 27. 15 gives you 27 to 33. 16 gives you 33 to 39. 17 gives you 39 to 45. And so what happens is, if I got a guy 14, but I think that based on the behavior of what he did in the case, let's say they say guns were involved and there's a 2-point enhancement, I'm going to want that 2-point enhancement. Let's say that there's 2 victims I got found guilty of, and so that's another point or 2 each, right? Well, the other side, the state may say, well, even though there was only 2 victims in this situation, there had been alleged 5 people that were trafficked over, so we should go points per person as opposed to points per conviction. And so that's why the points are trying to be kept lower. And Mr. Combs' situation, because he is not a kind of repeat offender, like, so let's say that I get convicted of something and my point level is a 14 for what I get convicted of. Okay, my sentencing is 14, and that's 21 to 27. Let's say if that was the range, because I'm not particularly looking at stuff right now. Let's say just call it for that. But let's say Mel gets convicted, and let's say Mel delivered a couple of packages back in the day. Mel and did a couple of strong arm robberies back in the day. So, and let's say Mel did the robberies 5 years ago, and he had the drug conviction 10 years ago, and he had 2 drug convictions, 2 robberies. What happens is now 3 points get added for each conviction. So I went from a 14-point conviction, 3 times 4 is 12. Now I'm at 26 points. Not only am I at 26 points, if you have a certain amount of points related to your behavior and guns are used, or too many points get added, you actually get moved over to another graph that even sets the minimums higher. And so that's how the point system working. That's why there's going to be a big argument about how many points that Mr. Combs gets, A, and B, what the judge is going to accept for his points. And so that's kind of what it is.
Okay, I see. Well, that's a awesome breakdown you did. It's very confusing to try to understand how it works. And I know I said one last, but I have one more. Something you said triggered this. The judge is sitting there. He's operating at a high level. He's listening to the entire trial. One of the first statements that came back from the jury is that one juror refuses to comply with the instructions of the judge. Could the judge factor something like that in and then sentence more time?
I don't think he can. I think that was just a misunderstanding about what they had to do. Remember, they said if you had 2 instances of A and B, that was enough to find you guilty of a RICO, right?
Right.
They didn't say that you had to find him guilty of a RICO. You can actually find him guilty up to 2 issues without finding him guilty of a RICO. And I think that really was the question. Like, some people probably thought, hey, if he does these 2 things along with these charges, that means he's not only guilty of the 2 things, but he's also guilty of the RICO. And what that person probably wanted to say was, hey, I believe that Mr. Combs did these 2 things, but I don't think these 2 things are a RICO. And he is allowed to be able to do that. I think that maybe he did not understand the instructions. I think basically what it is I think that what they meant to say in the jury instructions, and this is why this is important, they probably meant to tell them, hey, if they have 2 things, then you can consider it a RICO and find him guilty of a RICO. But you don't have to find him guilty of that RICO because you saw the 2 things. And I think that's kind of what probably got cleared up. And I don't think the judge is going to take that into account. And honestly, I think that's what was going on. And that's why when it comes to jury instructions, Those things are very important. They can be confusing if they're not written properly. And that's one thing that you got to be careful about when you're doing these cases, how the jury instructions are written and the word and the verbiage that is used.
Thank you for the explanation. Shout out to that girl, Henny, Sharon. We have quite a few people. Michonne is in the building, everybody. Loretta, thank you very much. We have Murr back, and thank you. So we're going to switch gears to Donald Trump now and talk about the Epstein case and also a little bit of Elon Musk. You know, we have to talk about him too. But Calvin, could you just take a moment? We have 150 people in the building. Hey guys, could you please hit the like button, share, and subscribe if you like the material. But Calvin, tell everybody who you are and why we want to hear from you, good brother.
My name is Attorney Calvin Johnson. I've been a practicing attorney here in Dallas, Texas for the last 24 years, almost 25 years. I've had my own firm around 24 to 25 years. I practice local, state, and federal criminal defense. And I have been doing this at the state, local, and federal level for the last 25 years. I've even handled trafficking cases. I've argued in a number of federal courts here in the Dallas, Texas, or the Texas area. I've been to Dallas, I've been to Sherman, I've been to other places in federal court to argue cases on behalf of defendants. And even before I became a lawyer, I attended the High School for Public Services, Government, and Law, which is a local magnet school here in Dallas, Texas, in the Dallas Independent School District. And it was centered around people who wanted to become attorneys. So I literally, since the beginning of my ninth grade year, have been involved in law-related things. I went there, graduated, and they got me an internship. And even through law school, I worked at law offices. And then even after I finished college, I went to work at a law firm. And then before I went to law school, I was part of a trial team in the second largest law firm in the world, Jones, Day, Rivas, and Pogue. And I was a project assistant on tobacco litigation for a law firm. So every job I've had, honestly, since the age of about 14 up to now, has been legal related. And that's been about 38 years I've been involved in the law or being a lawyer. So I have a lot of experience to share with the people that are watching this show today.
All right, guys. And my name is Mel. What I do primarily, I go to court cases, I set and I take notes, and then I come back and bring it to you guys so that you can kind of navigate through the salacious things you might hear on the internet and find out it wasn't in court. And that's what happened with Sean Diddy Combs' case. We found out that it wasn't in court. And so there are quite a few cases coming up. In fact, Calvin and I both will be heavily involved in the Carmelo Anthony case and also any substantial cases coming up. But we'll also take a look at probably local cases that might be in your area. Maybe you have questions. You could send out an email. And guys, if you could drop the email in the chat, we could perhaps entertain a case that might be near and dear to your heart. But on the day to day, I'm an investor in the stock market. So that's why what's exciting about this, if you guys that support the channel, like, share, whatever, subscribers, if you have questions, you could email a question and find out a solid answer from a man of the stature of Calvin Johnson. Or when it comes to investing, as you guys know, I'm very responsive and I'll tell you or point you in the right direction to go. So we appreciate everybody that really supports us, especially for this Sunday show. It's beautiful to have you guys here. Now, Calvin, let's get into Donald Trump and Epstein. If you follow this at a high level when it comes to Donald Trump and all of the things that they've accused Donald Trump of, would you imagine that Epstein was the kryptonite?
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. This Epstein thing, and I think when you think about it, the Puffy Combs trial makes you think about Epstein more, right? In a sense, because even though Puffy, his case did not involve underage girls, it still involved alleged trafficking, and it allegedly involved a lot of big names. And so I think the kryptonite is for the Donald Trump administration is that they kept saying that they were going to release this list and they were going to name names and they were going to be part of letting the public know what was going on in the background. And now they seem to be kind of hush mouth about it. And now there is no list, and Epstein killed himself and whatever information he had with him, and there are no files. And then I'm going to be honest with you, America, I want you to listen to me. Did you really think the guy who doesn't pay the people who do work for him was going to tell you the truth? I mean, let's be honest. He may do what you want to do in the moment to get your support, but let's be honest, he's not going to consistently do the right thing for you. He's going to do the right thing for himself. And I think in the case of Mr. Trump, I think against him, but I think a lot of people have him connected to Epstein, some of those behaviors. And I've heard that they have some strong ties with Mr. Trump. And so it does not surprise me that there are no naming of the names and those files seem to be getting buried. And when you have somebody with the power of Mr. Trump who is able to go in and have access to information like that, they can choose not to get that information out there because if it's going to hurt them, he's not going to put it out there. So should it really surprise you, or does it really surprise you that you're not finding out more information about the Epstein files? I actually expected it. I don't know what everybody else did, but I expected not to find out more information based on the fact that he was in power and he was in control. And this is not just to him. I think that a lot of powerful people that are Republican, Democrats, and or independents probably have some kind of connection to this list. So it doesn't surprise me at all. Money, men with money that have the ability to be able to hide things sometimes will. It is what it is.
Now, Elon Musk is the one I believe that kind of got the ball rolling when he says Donald Trump is on the list. Now, mind you, he's a part of Doge, and Doge went through the files. They went through a lot of files, right? The government came back and spoke of a list. Is that sort of a little wild goose chase? They're asking for files. The government says there's no list. Is that a play on words?
I think it is. I think they love to play on words. And I think that when it comes to Mr. Trump, he's a master manipulator in terms of using the media and using situations to benefit himself from those things. And I think he's become really adept at using the public and public perceptions to actually benefit himself. I don't want to try to talk too much about what I think about Mr. Trump. I'm just being honest. I mean, he knows how to use words. He knows how to use the semantics of words to make it look like, hey, I'm one of you, and we're going against them, that big red machine over there, when he's literally the big red machine.
It came out that J.D. Vance might be running for president in 2028. Do you think that maybe there's a bigger picture here where someone's trying to, they're saying Donald Trump's time is up, or do you think that this is just falling on him in general?
Well, I think Mr. Trump probably wants to go and be president again after this one, after this section, but the Constitution will not allow him. And I think he really looks for an opening to be able to continue to stay in power. And I think that that's the scary part. He probably has signaled that to the people that are in power. But I think the people in power are saying, no, we can't do it. We're going to follow the law. And I think that they're going to want somebody like a J.D. Vance in there. See, what people don't understand is when you have somebody like J.D. Vance, Mr. Vance can actually stay on message. He can actually continue to, without raging, he can actually go in and consistently implement policies that hurt a lot of people that they don't like. And so that's a scary situation having him as president. He might be actually able to focus for 6 months to a year straight or a couple of years straight. And that could wreak a lot of damage on a lot of people and wreak a lot of havoc in the lives of ordinary Americans who need assistance.
What are your thoughts, perhaps even with your colleagues? I know you hear a lot of talking in the courtroom. Do most people that you talk to, are they really that concerned about Donald Trump right now?
They're starting to be a lot more concerned. I think when he first got elected, I think they wanted to see some of the things. I think some people that I happen to know, they were concerned about immigration. They were concerned about money. They were concerned about some things going way too far left. And so I think those people initially were happy that he was coming in and resetting their clock. But I think I'm seeing a lot of buyer's remorse. I'm seeing a lot of buyer's remorse from the Hispanic community that decided to support him now that their relatives and their friends are being herded up like cattle and thrown out of the country. I see a lot of regret from middle America, who people think that these welfare cuts and these Medicaid cuts and some of the public aid cuts are going to hurt the cities. No, they hurt rural America more than anything. Rural America, a lot of the times, is dying, and they depend on post offices. They depend on federal jobs and connection to federal agencies to be able to sustain themselves. And so a lot of middle America, small town America, some of the cuts that Mr. Trump is actually taking on is going to hurt some of those people. And I think those people are going to be looking for answers eventually. I just don't know if the Democratic Party is going to provide enough of them, because they have an unwillingness to court people in the middle, and they want to go far left, just like the Republicans that went far right. So I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. A lot of people are day by day getting more concerned about Trump and some of the things that he's doing.
Let me ask you a question as an attorney. When you have the media going on and allegations where they said Donald Trump wrote a letter, he drew a woman and wrote his name on it, all these different allegations, and let's say you're defending someone, how do you go about defining what's true and what's not? Because even your client can be lying to you.
Man, I really try to watch them. And if I have concerns about what they're telling me being the truth, I try to be careful with it. Like I told you, I had a situation where I was doing a drug case, and these guys were telling me this and that. And I just kind of knew. I said, hey, look, these guys trusted you with 800. Actually, they trusted them with like 650 kilograms of cocaine in a U-Haul. I was involved in the case where 1,000 kilogram load came in, 650 kilograms went one part of the city, 350 kilograms went to another part of the city. And the guy who I was representing helped haul the 650 load, and they were trying to tell me I didn't know what was in there. And I figured it out later, and I was like, man, quit playing with me. Like, I have enough common sense to know that you're not being honest about that, because I've done enough cases to know that that's not the case. And then I grew up in a community where drugs came in when I grew up. Unfortunately, I come from a rough place. So I knew that they had to know who they're handing that kind of load off to make sure that they don't get robbed, because we're talking millions of dollars of cocaine that's being shipped from one area to the next. And they're just not going to trust it with anybody. In addition to that, they're going to pay well as you move that load. So for you to move a load like that, you had to get the minimum amount of money is this amount. You're telling me you got 1/10 of that, which tells me you're lying to me. And so I have to be very careful about what I believe from my clients. And so do I share that with the other side? No, I don't. But I try not to depend on it in defending my clients, so that I don't end up defending something that can easily be disproven as a lie.
Okay. Missy Motormouth says, I'm glad I called to life. I do have a question. If you see this comment, what do you think about Tisa turning on Trump, reading the letter like it's true blue gold? I was upsell, hell, Trump exposed Epstein.
Well, if it's like this, when somebody decides to let you go or push you out there or make you the enemy, that's just human nature. If you have a job or position with somewhere or a place with somebody, and then they decide that they're just going to cut you, and you feel like that they're cutting you, and you feel like that you're being wronged, a lot of people will come out and they'll speak out for themselves, and they'll rage against you. And I think that's what's happening here. And I think Mr. Trump needs to be careful, because there are probably a lot of stuff that a lot of people he work with that some information can come out that could really harm him. So I think he needs to be careful in doing whatever he's doing, because there are a lot of unhappy people that he probably got rid of that no longer work for him.
Okay, we're down to our last 2 or 3 minutes of talking about Trump before we go into Carmelo Anthony, our last 15 minutes. JJ says, I think he will be the next one. I don't want to get kicked out. Black dude here, immigrant here, voted for Trump. What are your thoughts?
What do you mean? This is what I'll tell you. My concern for people was this. Now, listen, if you're an immigrant and you don't have papers to be here, and you know people that are just working folks that are not causing any problems, that are working and maybe not committing any crimes, you had to be extremely careful about what you were voting for. Some people will think, well, if you're not a citizen and you're voting for A, B, and C, why would you do that? Because you might be harming yourself. And I think in that situation, you got to be careful and understand that the people that support Mr. Trump, they don't want you here in this country. And when they get rid of the illegal immigrants, the other people are going to be fair game. and there needs to be an understanding on down the line that's just going to be that. So with that being said, right now you may not be the target, but eventually you will be.
All right, guys, we have close to 160 people in the room. Please hit the like button so we can get the voice out louder. Steve Haffiker says, if you're illegally in the country, you got to go. What do you think, Calvin?
Hey, man, I can't disagree with that, because I think that everybody got to have some rules for being here. I'm upset that both parties have not set parameters where people can actually gain citizenship in a reasonable amount of time using a reasonable process. But I can't argue when you're here and you're not supposed to be in the country that you shouldn't be here. And with that being said, I think we have to have some empathy for some folks, and we need to understand, if we want people out this country, there's going to be collateral damage in terms of who's going to do certain jobs. Are you going to be affected? Of those people that are close to you going to be affected? I think eventually a country has to have a rules for its admittance. So I can't really argue with them. I just think that there needs to be a way upon which doing it that's not so cold-hearted, and also that does not affect our country financially and just morally, while you're trying to remove these people from this country. Especially if you're committing crimes, you got to go. I get that. The other folks, I think there should be a way where they could get here legally, and it should be a simpler process. But I can't argue, if you're not supposed to be here, you're not supposed to be here, and I understand that.
Okay, two statements and one question. Tammy Pierce, shout out to you. Thanks for being here. This is what we voted for. Then John Fargo says, from the ocean to ocean, America would be free, U.S. And then Talith asked the question, do you think it's acceptable to protect PDFs?
Do I think it's acceptable to protect what I guess, yeah, I got to be careful. PDFs, I know what that means. So no, I don't think it's acceptable to protect them. I think that they should get their just due. When it comes to doing stuff to younger people, that's inappropriate. That should not happen. I don't care if you're Donald Trump. I don't care if you're a rapper. I don't care if you're a regular person. For any reason, I never supporting those people and not holding those people accountable, because I have a child, and then I know people who have children. I work with kids all the time, so that's the way I look at it.
Shout out to JJ. JJ keeps coming back. It says the Democratic Party was focused on the wrong thing. I don't think Trump is correct about everything, but considering the alternative, it's not much there, he's saying.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this. This is my problem, and some people will get mad at me. They were focused on the wrong thing, and I'm gonna tell you, when I tried to tell them that, they attacked me. They were focused on abortion. They were focused on the LGBTQ community, not saying that they're not a priority. They were focused on abortion rights and women's rights, and I get that. But when you do that, you're also shying away from the regular person. Like, I give people an example. Me as a black man, as a family, what is that party offering me? Or you put me in a position to take care of my family better? Or you put me in a position to protect my daughter and my child better when they go to school and they're trying to be indoctrinated into certain things? Are you protecting us as citizens when you're just letting anybody run in and do whatever they want to do? Are you really helping us by forgetting that the everyday average people who used to be the core of your party feel like that they're being ignored? And that's just kind of what it is. People have to understand that. I'm not going against the rights of LGBTQ people. I think it's important. We should treat people fairly. We shouldn't discriminate against them. If somebody wants to get an abortion, that's their business. I have my own views about that, but I don't want to tell people what to do with their bodies or whatever. It's not my call. But at the same time, I'm not concerned with somebody's abortions. I'm not concerned with somebody else's right now. I'm trying to raise a family. I'm trying to provide for my daughter, my wife, my child, and I'm trying to make sure that we have a future. And a lot of people need to understand that. It's not that we don't care about what you want or what your concerns were. We have our own. And everybody gonna have to understand that people that have their own concerns are not gonna put others' concerns ahead of theirs.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. We have close to 300 people in the room. If you guys could hit the like button, I would greatly appreciate it as well. So we're going to switch gears now to Carmelo Anthony. A lot of people don't know about this case, but this case has a lot of racial undertones to it. So we'd like to get to it. Could you give people a general synopsis of the case involving Carmelo Anthony down in your state?
Well, in Dallas, Texas, which it was just Frisco, Texas. Frisco is a suburb of Dallas. For people who don't know, the Dallas-Fort Worth area is the fourth largest metropolitan area in the United States. It only trails Chicago, LA, and New York. Houston actually, as a metropolitan area, is slightly smaller than us, but it's very close in population ranges. And what happens in Dallas, you have a lot of connected cities that have large populations. And Frisco is one of those large suburbs. And in Frisco, a young black man who, while it was raining, was at a track meet. And he was sitting under the tent of an opposing team. One of the people on that opposing team had words with him, and the young man allegedly took out a knife and stabbed the other young man in the heart. The kid that was stabbed was white. The kid that was doing the stabbing was black. And the kid got charged with murder, which is Carmelo Anthony. And Austin is the kid that was killed. And Carmelo, who is the black kid, basically said, Carmelo Anthony, what a name, right? Carmelo Anthony is literally the kid that got charged with murder. He's saying it's self-defense. And it set off a firestorm down here in the Texas area because some people feel like it was justified because it was black and white, and those white boys said something to him and they wanted to bully him. And then you have some folks that say, hey, wait a minute, he wasn't being bullied. He shouldn't have even had a knife at a track meet. Why is he jumping up and automatically stabbing someone and then stabbing someone in the heart to where they died? That's too much self-defense. He ended up lying. So why did that even happen? So that's why a lot of people were upset that happened. And so it kind of became a racial thing where you got some black folks supporting Carmelo Anthony and the white folks are actually supporting Austin. And then you have all of the dynamics of arguing about race and was it justified? And even with that being said, you got some folks that said, hey, these are two kids that shouldn't be resolving their issues like that. They tried to make Carmelo be a black racist and Austin be a white racist. And Austin's dad was actually approached by white supremacist leaning organizations saying that they were going to advocate for him. But Austin's dad, to his credit, said, no, you're not what I stand for. I'm a believer in God, and we don't allow that. And then you had a guy named Dominique Alexander who works for a civil rights organization in Dallas come in and start stepping in and making some comments that people that are on the white side were basically offended about. And so, and he felt like he had a right to make those statements based on the racial change of what was happening. Basically, you have a 17-year-old black kid who stabbed a 17-year-old white kid. Both of them are getting ready to go to college. And there's an argument of whether it was self-defense or was justified. And the matter is going to be set for trial, and it's going to play out in court.
So tell us something. When it comes to this case, what should we expect early on as far as how it's going to break down?
Well, number one, the court that is listed in is the Honorable John Roach Jr. I know Mr. Roach. I actually did a slight bit of work for Mr. Roach in the summertime of my third year of law school. He was actually one of my mentors when I first started practicing law. He was very helpful. He's out in Collin County, and I'm black, of course. He's white, but wasn't a race thing. I just wanted to learn from lawyers. I had mentors that were black and white. Mr. Roach was a great attorney. His dad was a former DA, but he runs a very no-nonsense court. He's very fair. He's very efficient, and he's not going to have any foolishness that occurs in his court. So I think you should look forward to a very well-ran case when this case goes to trial, and he's not going to play any games with the state or the defense. It's going to be ran professionally and fairly based on what I've seen from this judge in that court.
Okay. How important is, let's say, the publicist when it comes to this case? I noticed they keep changing and whatnot.
Yeah, I think that they've kept changing. When it comes to publicists involving criminal defense cases, I'm I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't like a lot of that because I don't want a lot of statements being made, and then I don't want the person who's the publicist to outshine my client or to have their interest outshine the interests of my client. So I'm not a big guy on having a publicist in this situation. If I do have one, they will put out a written statement. They will not be having press conferences where a lot of questions get asked because I don't think that there's a place, especially when somebody has lost their life. So when somebody has lost their life and you got a publicist and you got all that kind of stuff going on, I just would not do it. As an attorney, I would definitely control who that would be. And if they got out of line, they couldn't work with me because I don't play that because I got somebody's life in my hands. So I'm not a big fan of having publicists, especially ones that give press conferences in the middle of a situation where somebody lost their life.
Okay, very good. We're going to be allowing people to come up and share into the conversation in about 5 minutes. We're going to entertain a few questions in the comment section in regards to Carmelo Anthony before we open this thing up. We have about 300 people collectively across the different platforms. If you guys could please hit the like button, share, and subscribe. Shout out to you, Eric, and everybody else that keeps supporting the channel, Mashona, Bordeaux. Calvin, please tell everyone who you are. We have a lot of new people in the room.
Listen, my name is Attorney Calvin D. Johnson. You can get in touch with me by calling the office at 214-565-5600. You can email me at attorneycalvindjohnson@gmail.com, or you can go to my website, theywon'tletmeout.com, and contact me there. I'm a practicing Dallas, Texas attorney, state of Texas attorney. I have been practicing law for the last 24, almost 25 years, mainly criminal defense. I've done state, local, and federal level criminal defense. I've handled trafficking cases, drug cases, murder cases, capital murder cases. So I have a lot of experience because I've had my own firm for the last 24 years. I've done a lot of legal work. So if you're questioning, well, why are you coming on here saying this and that, it's because I have almost a quarter century of experience being involved in criminal cases. And even before I became an attorney, since my first year of high school at the Law Magnet, which is a high school basically dedicated to people who want to become lawyers, since I was in 9th grade, I knew that I would choose this path that I'm in. And I've been doing this basically since I was a teenager, being related to law in the last quarter century, almost running my own law firm. So that's why Mel has me on this. And this is why I'm qualified to make the comments that I make every day, every week when we do this show, 2 p.m. Central Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. We do this every week on every Sunday afternoon.
Okay, very good. My name is Mel, and what I do, I go to some of the most interesting cases in the United States. I covered Trump's case, Diddy's case, and a lot more to come. We go to the court case, take notes, and then I come back and have Calvin break it down from a legal perspective so you can ask those hard questions. Now, when it comes to the comments, as we're wrapping up with Carmelo Anthony, Rocco says, if I had a case, I would want him as my attorney. So, Calvin, you have somebody that's rooting for you in the comments. It's a beautiful thing.
Hey, man, thank you. You know, what I try to do is I try to tell people, I've been doing this for a while. I try to fight these cases like if I'm going to jail, because when somebody goes to jail, I don't like that happening. And I try to help people as much as I can because I understand the implications of people doing a lot of time. I grew up in a community where I had a lot of guys go to jail, do a lot of hard time, and it affected their families for generations. So when I go out here and practice law, I try to do the best for my clients.
Okay, we have two opposite sides of a spectrum. JJ says Carmelo is done. Lone Wolf in the Lion Club. Welcome back, Lone Wolf. Says, I believe Carmelo will beat the charge. What do you think, Calvin?
I think he's going to have a very difficult time down here in Dallas, Texas area, especially the Frisco area. For those who don't live here, and please, I know we've had several arguments about this. I live in Dallas. I practice law out in Collin County. That area out there is a little bit more affluent. It's a little bit whiter. It's a little bit more Republican. It's a little bit more tougher on crime. There is a giant pocket of African-American in terms of population out there. But when I say giant, I'm saying there's a good percentage of us that live out in the Collin County area. But when you look at a Collin County jury and what that jury makeup is going to be made of, when somebody lost their life, in a situation where there's literally an argument about whether somebody should be under a tent or not. I have some concerns about Mr. Carmelo Anthony, with him being in their tent, with the witnesses probably are not going to be Carmelo witnesses for the most part because you're under their tent. And I just have some concerns for him. I think he has a good attorney that's going to defend him well. I just have concerns about what's going to happen to him because it's a lot to where somebody's arguing over whether it should be in a tent or not, and then somebody losing their life. And that's a lot that you have to kind of go into to kind of justify not just self-defense, but that level of self-defense based on what Texas law says. Once again, everybody, I know there's been a lot of arguing with me about that, but I'm not going to change my mind when it comes to that because I know the Texas law is going to require Mr. Anthony to prove that he was justified in using the level of self-defense he used. And basically, he's going to have to show why he was using deadly self-defense. And that's a concern that I have. And that's where I think he's going to have some trouble at.
I'm telling you, Calvin, it's great to have you on this channel, man. The way you break things down, it's very tough to get that type of information on the day-to-day. So we really appreciate, I speak on behalf of everybody, we appreciate the way you break things down at a high level. We reached a time now where we can allow people to come up so we could drop that link. We're at that point. So I'll have DJ Genesis drop the link on her side and I'll drop the link on my side, or it worked for both. Okay. All right. So if you guys would like to come up and give us your opinion, share some thoughts, ask some questions, now's the time to do so. Until then, I just had a couple more questions for you, Calvin, as
Yes.
people decide to come up or not. Okay. We have Zion in the building. Okay. So Calvin, let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
Will this type of case have more police officers on deck because of the nature of all the intense hatred involved?
It will, because it can get kind of testy out there. You may have some people out there protesting. And I try to tell people, I've had some people say we ought to just come and protest. And I think that you got to be careful when you do that here. I think that the jury is going to do what it's going to do. You don't want to hurt the defendant by doing certain things. And what people have to understand, there was a loss of life here. Whether it was justified or not, there's a loss of life, and you got to be extremely careful. Thanks, Zion, man. Thanks for turning your camera on. That's how we're going to do it now. If you come on, we don't want the emoji. We want you. And we want enough lighting in the background. Perfect, man, Zion. You're doing it like you want us to do it. But what I'm trying to explain to people, man, listen, this is going to be a highly contested case. And I'm going to be honest with you. For people who don't understand, I hate that this even happened, because race relations in Texas are hard enough, right? And then I think that this is going to really place some people in some positions, because there are a lot of Black folks that say, hey, look, we understand that maybe he felt threatened, but was he threatened enough to kill somebody? And some Black folks say, hey, man, I've been in that situation where I'm surrounded by them folks, and I feel like I should be able to do what I got to do to get from around them folks. And so my concern is this is going to put race relations back some years. They've already been put back as it is, but it's a terrible situation where I got two 17-year-olds. One is facing a murder trial, and one has met his maker because of a situation that should have been able to be resolved without any violence at all. And so for those who don't rock with me or don't like that I'm saying this, I'm sorry. I just have to be honest. I see situations where folks, two young people, I wouldn't want my son to be facing trial. I wouldn't want somebody to lose their child. So that's just where I'm at. If y'all can't rock with that, that's on your soul, not mine.
Okay, so I just want to tell everyone, keep in mind, please do not spam the chat. Let's be very intentional about the comments so that everybody can get their thoughts and expression in. We have a lot of people coming through. All right, so we discussed three big matters here. We talked about Diddy, Trump, and also Carmelo Anthony. So Zion, tell us which subject matter and express your question or concern.
Right. So Yeah, so I'm more focused on the Carmelo Anthony situation. And I'm sure you guys are aware of what just happened with, remember when I was on, if you recall, when I was on with you guys, the Preppy murder trial, the Preppy party murder trial was still going on. And it was very interesting. I like the way both of the attorneys, the prosecution and the defense, did their closing arguments. Very powerful closing arguments. The defense's closing argument, I think, opened the window for him to be exonerated of the charges, which was interesting because similarly to Carmelo Anthony's trial, issue, this guy went over to a place where he wasn't invited, and in a way he was being hostile in going over there, and and then got caught up with like a group of people attacking him or trying to get him off of their property, and he pulls out a knife and someone ends up unalived. And there's 4 other people who were like, seriously injured. But all of these guys are teenagers, Similarly, in with Carmelo, from what I'm hearing, and you can give me further insight if you have some, Brother Calvin, that he was in their tent, and there was 2 brothers that were involved in getting to him. So the not to get too far, the defense argued that, number one, this young man he's a teenager and he was afraid. There was multiple people. He was not on, and on top of that, he's not a expert in knife fighting. So you can't blame or think that he had the intent, that we remove the intent, because and the level of fear for a teenager, being approached by more than one person.
Can I ask you something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Zan, where did this case happen?
That was in Connecticut, so yeah.
Okay, so let me
the factor is different.
Can I help y'all? Okay, so this is why I want to help y'all, and I know y'all. I gotta say it because when we in Texas, I just did a show recently where I had a guy named Richard Miles, and if you go research the Richard Miles Act, and it forces the state to disclose all discovery in a case involving defendants that are charged with crimes in Texas. And what happened in his case was he got found guilty of murder in a case where he didn't commit the crime. There was a memo there was a call that came into the police department. A memo generated where somebody called in and said, Mr. Miles didn't commit that crime. I know who committed the crime. They're bragging about it. And there was a report that was taken with the information that person had given, showing that they had information that nobody else had. And Mr. Miles went to trial, got found guilty of it, and never knew that piece of evidence existed. And so the reason why I'm saying this to y'all is because we're in Texas. So you got to be careful in Texas. Hey, when you're charged with a crime, you got to be extremely careful. And I'm being real with y'all. Some people going to get mad at me. You got a black young man. I always try to tell my clients, let's be real. You got a black kid in a tent, a couple of white guys. White guy ended up dead. That black guy better be able to justify he had the right to use deadly force. I'm going to say what everybody else does not say. I'm just telling you the truth. Because the jury that's going to be out there is not going to be a lot of us. Because we don't end up on juries. And I'm going to tell you, I heard people, man, he was bullied. He's going to have to prove that he was bullied. He's going to have to prove, and it's going to be more. It's going to take more than just his word. And my concern for him, if I'm defending him, you're in their tent. I always tell people, quit playing them away games, right? Y'all heard me kept saying, I did not tell you about playing them away games. There's a scene on The Wire where Avon Barksdale tells Stringer Bell, didn't I tell you about playing them away games? When he says that, that's serious, because the people that you have to rely on, and me being an attorney, you're having to rely on the opposite teams, referees, and teammates. And what is the likelihood that they're going to give you testimony, sworn testimony, that's going to benefit you? They don't know you. They know the person that was killed. So they're going to feel like they have an obligation to do one or two things. A, testify that you weren't justified. B, even if they have some reason for you to testify on your behalf, they're going to keep quiet about that part of it. You know why? Because that was their guy. And everybody goes, oh, I'm going to argue. Listen, please understand, I'm not against Carmelo Anthony. I'm just telling you the real concerns that if I'm Carmelo Anthony's attorney, I would be foolish not to understand that that is something that I need to worry about. Does everybody understand that part of it? If you want to disagree with me, great.
I totally agree with you on that.
Exactly. We got to be aware of those issues.
Right.
And will the attorney be able to get to those issues and get to them in a friendly manner? And that's part of the reason why I did not like the public relations person and that team of folks, because they should be focused on messaging of getting the potential jurors to understand what the mindset of Mr. Carmelo Anthony was, not arguing about all this other stuff. They should have been focused on making sure that you put the public in a position to want to hear my guy out, to hear his reasoning about why he did what he did. And I don't think that the public relations team that they had was really focused on doing that. And that's the problem that I had with it all.
Okay, thank you for that expression. DJ Genesis, tell us first what subject matter and then your comment or question.
I'm still on the Carmelo Anthony case, and then I will come back and do another one about the Trump situation. I wanted to ask a question about the latest thing with this lady named Sarah Field, I think her name is, and she's been really heavily, really involved with the case on the side of the family of the deceased. And, you know, there's a whole uproar where she docks Dominique, and then you have like a Charleston White who's having a battle with her. She's threatening legal against Charleston White. Charleston White supposedly representing the family now. There's a whole audio out now of him saying that he's scamming them. And I don't know if this is a real conversation that he really had, or was it AI, but it sounded like it was him. And it was just, he hasn't said it wasn't him, so I imagine it was him, you know. So I mean, but it sounded like he was saying he's scamming them and all this other stuff.
So what are my thoughts about that?
Yeah, like so they moved from Dominique to now Charleston White being the representative of the family.
I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I got to tell y'all this because I want to definitely get to your question. You can ask another one after this. This is the reason why you don't want to have just anybody who's not experienced at this handling the situation. I know these people may be very, very important social media wise, but how good are they at helping somebody in the situation that they're currently in? And that's the concern that I have with this Carmelo Anthony situation. How experienced are they at handling situations like this, right? And so that's the concern that I have when you have this situation. They may be actually hurting the situation as opposed to helping the situation. So that's why I have high concerns about that. In addition to that, these people could be angering potential jurors. And at the end of the day, no matter how socially media popular they are they going to be able to get to the minds of the general public so that that general public understands what's happening in this case to a level that they're going to feel somewhat sympathetic to Carmelo Anthony? And I don't know if any of those people are going to help you achieve that. And so that's a concern I have, that this has become a social media soap opera. But it ain't going to be a social media soap opera in that court, because that judge is going to run it efficiently, and then they're going to want some retribution of this white kid getting killed. And I'm just being honest with you. So we need to get focused and quit jacking around and make sure that people understand that.
Okay, DJ Genesis, you have another question about Trump, you said?
Yeah, so the Trump question is that recently we've been seeing a lot of like things when it comes down to these ICE raids. You have Alligator Alley, where it seems like he's able to just throw up a prison in 5 minutes, and it seems like people are getting kind of afraid that, I mean, you could be next. I mean, that African Americans and just even regular Americans could just be thrown in these places based on the Birthright Citizens Act. Do you think that there's any merit to these fears that people have about how ICE is becoming a new police force and how they are not really beholden to the same laws? And do you know what laws ICE is beholden to? Because it seems like they could just run roughshod into an area without a warrant, without anything. How is the government able to do this and put people in prison?
They're given a lot of leeway. And, you know, the executive branch is actually kind of the enforcement arm of the laws in this country. And we have to understand that ICE has a lot of power to be able to go out and do what they're doing. I do have concerns about the power of ICE because, you know, and on one end, you're rounding up immigrants and you're going to feel like you should be allowed to do that. But on the other end, you don't want people just running up in your house. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. If I don't know who you are and you make a mistake running in mine, something might happen to you. And if you don't identify yourself as law enforcement, and then with the way some people are faking being law enforcement, we live in some very dangerous times. So folks got to be careful when they run up in somebody's house or they run up in somebody's place of business, or they go to somebody's area and just start taking people down, because a lot of people are not going to have that. Now, if you have a legitimate reason to come get folks that are not citizens or committing crimes and putting them out here, I get that. But ICE needs to be careful to not affect regular citizens, because that's going to be a problem for them.
Is there any way, like, okay, I mean, because it seems like they can just pick you up and then just like sort it out later, you know? And that's the part that's kind of frightening to me, is that they can like kind of grab you if you don't have your ID, you don't have your whatever, and they think you're an immigrant. They could just you have to go through the process of trying to get you're basically kidnapped for that moment. I'm trying to. What law are they under? What are they under? Like, are they under?
That's the concern that I have, you know. But you know, a lot of these state legislatures have went to where you have to identify yourself, where you got to keep identification on you at all times. A lot of these state legislatures have went to that, and so that's allowing them to be able to say we have a reasonable way to to detain you. So that's why that's kind of happening. And I'm having to switch off, y'all, because my iPad is dying a little bit. So I'm trying to get some more space on here. But one of the reasons why some certain things like that are happening is because you got a lot of folks that are doing those kinds of things. And that is of high concern when it comes to that kind of stuff, because a lot of people are being snatched up. They feel like they're being erroneously snatched up and they're being treated unfairly. And that's not something that we want to happen to people. So I have a lot of concerns about that, as well as everything else right now when it comes to that kind of stuff. So that's why I'm saying what I'm saying. You got to be extremely careful about that within itself. And so that's why I was saying what I was saying.
But as a lawyer, do ICE need to have a specific paper to be able to? Because it seems like they don't even be having paper. They just grab you. Oh, you come here. You know what I'm saying?
Well, basically, when they arrive at those places, they know they do their pre-op, which means they do a lot of pre-investigation stuff. They're not just riding out and jumping out to a field. They do some background work where they go take a look and say, hey, their paperwork isn't right at this particular location. Let's go investigate. Then when they pop out, they know a lot of the paperwork isn't right, and so they can ask questions about that. Because let's be honest, a lot of these people that hire these foreign workers, they're not doing the biggest background checks on them. They just jumping out there hiring folks. And it happens, you know, that's what I'm saying. I mean, to be honest with you, people don't understand a lot. More people were deported under Obama than Biden. And more people were deported under Obama than even Trump's first administration. But the Obama administration did it in a way where they did their homework. They were a little bit more targeted in who they got out of here. But the Trump administration is like, look, if you're not supposed to be here, you don't have your papers, you're out of here. I don't care if you committed a crime or not. And I think that's where you have an issue. And I think regular citizens should be afraid in a situation because, you know, they are snatching people up, and sometimes they're not doing enough homework. But for the most part, they are doing some homework before they come in and do that, you know?
All
So
right, very good.
I'm sorry. How do you know if it's an ICE agent or if it's?
They're going to identify themselves. They have their badges, they have their trucks, they have their ways of doing that. So that's going to be pretty simple. They're not just running up on you. They come in with their badges, showing their stuff, and they identify themselves. It's not like,
but they have their faces covered, you know. So that's
they do, but they have their because they have to, because if they don't, people are going to find out who they are. They're going to go on social media, and then they're going to go to their houses and start messing with their family. So that's why they're doing that.
Okay.
But that's that, Genesis. Let me get to the next one. We'll come back to you in a little bit. We definitely want to make sure that that we get your questions answered. Keep listening, Genesis. We're going to go to you at the end again to get another question, because you see a lot of questions coming up in the comments, and we want to make sure we get those addressed, okay?
All right, very good. So BP Slick says there's a difference between deportation and removal. Can you expound on that, Calvin?
Deportation is like you're being deported because, you know, you're not in this country properly. So there's a process of deportation. Removal is just like where they're just removing you from the country. They know you're not a citizen, and they're just getting you up out of here. So there used to be a whole process where you had to go to court and you had a chance to appear. But right now it seems like once you can't prove that you're a citizen, hey, they pretty much get you out of here.
Okay, so guys, keep in mind, if you would like to come up, we have the link in the chat, so feel free to come up and express yourself or ask questions. We have a criminal defense attorney here, and we appreciate having that privilege. Prayer Warrior says they make the income go up and our rents go up. What are your thoughts?
What do you mean?
The immigrants make our rent.
Well, the issue is immigrants do a lot of the work that other people won't do. And I don't know if they make our income go down. I mean, sometimes because of what they're doing, they make some people income go up, depending if you're a small business owner or not. And when it comes to rent, I don't think it's the immigrants' fault. I think it's big business's fault. I mean, go look at Atlanta, right, where they said 2/3 of the houses in Atlanta are not owned by individuals; they're owned by corporations. So the immigrants are not corporations. So I get what Prayer Warriors is saying one part, but you know, that we got to be careful with all of this, because they'll try to make the immigrant the problem, the enemy, and they'll make the immigrant be the source of all our problems. When you basically have the people in corporate America supporting Trump to be able to push these people out of here, while at the same time they're the ones that are going up on our rents. So don't blame all the problems on the immigrants. We have enough things in this country that we're not doing ourselves that we can fix that's causing some of this to happen.
Talib says the farmers who hire illegal immigrants aren't being targeted, even though they're incentivizing people being here illegally.
I get that, but then when they have to go up on the prices of their eggs, we're the same people that complain about paying more for them. See, this is the dirty part about this immigration argument. We want the work at a cheap price because we want to pay cheap prices for what we buy. But then when the immigrants are not doing the work, who is the prices going to be transferred to? It's going to be transferred to us, because we're not going to go pull those eggs and pick those oranges. We're not going to be doing that work. So let's be honest. Some of us want the benefits of the illegal immigrants, and then we want to point to them and say they're the source of all our problems. We benefit from them too, just as well as they do cause some problems here in this country. But they also save us money at times, and we have to be honest about that.
JJ says it's happened under every administration.
It has. A lot of people have been deported or removed.
Okay. Talib says, so it's okay that innocent people are being detained for weeks.
No, it's not. It's not okay. And the reason why I want y'all to understand as a criminal defense attorney, it's not okay. Because number one, if I'm a citizen and you detain me, this is the concern I have. Like me, I know I'm a citizen and you detain me, there's going to be a problem. And it's not going to end with me just complying with you doing whatever you're doing because you're trying to tell me what to do and I'm a citizen here. So it's going to go south. And so I have concerns because as a regular person, I'm not going to sit back and be quiet while you're trying to detain me and lock me up. And I know I'm a citizen. And then me being an African-American, our blood covers this country on every corner. When we fought wars, we built this country with our hands. We were mistreated for years. My ancestors, specifically my black men, women, and more importantly, my black men were on the front lines of getting our freedom. So when you try to come take that from me, I take this serious. So it's not okay. I want everybody to understand that I'm analyzing everything, but at the same time, I'm not justifying anything.
Rocco says, if you are detained, what should you do?
Make sure you keep your ID with you, number one. And if you are an immigrant, you got a problem. If you don't have papers to be here, you got a problem because they kicking everybody up out of here. Part of the reason why I had that case that went south earlier this week, we think that the person that made the complaint against my client is doing it for immigration issues because what most people don't know, and we got to talk about this, and this is something I didn't want to veer off into, but I'm going to veer off into so that people know. If you're a victim of a crime, they can't deport you. You know that? Did y'all know that? If you are a victim of a legitimate crime in America, they can't deport you. That's why those people in Louisiana, those officers in the Louisiana Police Department, they were selling police reports to immigrants so that they could not be deported. In the case that I was involved in this week, literally, we think that the person made a false accusation so that he could be a victim of a crime so he would not get deported. So that's a whole other ballgame.
Robert Walker, thank you for being here. Thanks for liking, sharing, subscribing. We appreciate your presence. Robert says, Dems cheered when joy let them flow like water. Now Trump turn off the spigot and mop up the overflow, then whine. They whine. I voted for it. Illegal is illegal. What are your thoughts?
See, this is the problem I have with people that support that. The overflow, there's not going to be an overflow. He's giving the overflow back to his rich friends. He gave a huge tax cut back to people that are extremely wealthy. So whatever overflow that was taking care of those illegal immigrants, it's not going to you. It's going back to billionaires so they can buy all those houses so they can make you pay rent to them and you can get a mortgage to be able to afford a house. See, I'm balanced about Trump. Do I like some of the things that he has done, or would I be in favor of making sure that people have to show that they're citizens and that citizens should be here and we have to have some rules? Yes, I'm in favor of having some rules, but I'm no fool. He's not going to be your savior. He's taking all these tax cut savings and giving those monies he's not spending on immigrants to rich billionaires. It's not coming to me to cut my taxes, and it's not going to help you. If you think it's anything else, then you're a fool. It's just my personal opinion.
Okay, Couture Leotard says, entering a country illegally is not innocence.
It's not. And that's why I said I'm not in favor of that. You shouldn't be able to just waltz over here. This country needs to get its head out of its you-know-what, and they need to come up with some immigration policy that's fair to everybody. People shouldn't just be able to walk over here that we don't know where they came from and what they've been doing.
Carl says, what do you have to show so you can prove all?
No, just have your ID. Have your state-issued ID or your passport with you at all times. But a lot of the state legislatures are requiring you to have that with you anyway.
Hey, Carl, we enjoy having you here. Please continue to come back so we can discuss these matters. Thank you for your participation and, more importantly, your comments. It shows your participation. Cheryl Wood says, I suggest immigrants take advantage of being able to return home instead of being in prison.
I definitely understand that. They should return home. But, you have a lot of immigrants that all they know is America. They don't know anything else. A lot of people getting deported have no ties to the country that they're being deported back to. So that's of high concern as well.
Okay, Not Chad 404 says, Couture, what tax breaks did he give the lower and middle class?
None. See, that's the thing. I mean, if he gave them any tax breaks, they're very small, but he gave the majority of that money we allegedly going to save. He gave it back to a lot of his rich friends. So we got to start calling it is what it is. Like everybody wants, oh, he's doing a great job. Yeah, he's doing some of what y'all wanted him to do, but he ain't giving y'all the money that's to save to going back to y'all. He's giving it back to the Billionaire Boys Club.
Mer says facts. Mashona says, welcome in and thanks for joining. Please like, share, and subscribe and support the channel. We really do appreciate each and every one of you. All right. Talib says, if you're presented with the info that doesn't agree with your worldview, you ignore it and claim it's fake.
That's a lot that's happening in this world. That's something that we got to talk about. If you don't like the truth, sometimes you'll call it fake news. Or that when somebody comes to you and says, like I had somebody tell me, hey, he's saving us money. He's giving the overflow back to the people. He's saving us money, but he's giving the overflow back to the people that already have money. And if you don't understand that, then that's you being foolish. I mean, we have to call a spade a spade. The truth is the truth. He's doing one good thing to do a bad thing, to do a good thing, to do a bad thing. And that's just what it is.
Okay, JJ says, off the topic, but a question, how do I encourage my kid into law? She's in college now and not sure where she is going.
She should, look into it. Watch shows like this. Go look at, watch some court TV. Go speak to some professors. Go actually meet some lawyers if she's interested in it. But one thing I try to tell people I was very interested is this. Honestly, at the age of 7 years old, I knew I would be doing this that I'm doing right now. I knew at 7 that I wanted to do this. And that may sound crazy to people, right? But to me, I knew that I would be doing this. It was not a matter of if, just when for me. I knew early. But if she's still trying to figure that out, she needs to start looking into it and see if it touches her soul, because there's a lot of hurdles you have to jump through to be able to do what I'm doing.
Okay. DJ Genesis is back up. What is your subject and what is your question or comment?
So it's still on Trump, and it's more about the judges situation that has come up recently with the Supreme Court. I think that there's like a weird thing going on where the judges have kind of lost some power, so to speak. Can you talk about that? What the actual thing is and how it's going to affect us in the future?
What they're doing is they're limiting the power of the judges to grant these injunctions when Trump makes decisions. Typically, when somebody makes a decision on a federal agency or federal law or trying to lay a bunch of people off without some due process, typically people will seek injunctions. And what's happening is they're limiting the ability for people to seek injunctions. And that hurts overall, because what it does is it keeps the protections that they have. It keeps them from getting those protections. What an injunction does, let's say Trump wants to automatically fire 1,000 people and let them go for no reason whatsoever. Sometimes the injunction will keep them from doing that. And so that's why you got to be extremely careful.
Okay. Cheryl Woods, again, thank you for being here. She says, not true. If any working adult, especially those with property, you're saving more in taxes under Trump. What are your thoughts?
I always try to tell people there's going to be a balance, right? So if you save in taxes, okay, we're saving in taxes, but sometimes you're pushed to provide other services. Sometimes your insurance premiums go up and because of the money being pushed back to more of the wealthy people. I'm not saying that you're not going to save a little bit, but sometimes when you save $9 billion and only a little bit gets to me, but now I got to pay more for other services and other things that are happening, I get concerned. And so somebody who has been involved in legal and government for the majority of my life, I understand that true balancing out. Yes, Trump is doing some things that are going to save you some money in the short term, but in the long term, because he's handing a lot of wealth to big companies and corporations and to people who have already a whole bunch of money, that's not pristine. That's not where we want to be. I want to save the money, but I want to help the middle class rise up. But that's just me.
Okay. We have Murray in the office in the comments. She's here at lunchtime quite frequently. We appreciate you. And she came back for Sunday. That's awesome. She says she had time to figure it out too. Okay, thank you for that comment. Occupy says this land is your land. This land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for us all. What do you think?
I get that, and I definitely understand that, but I think that ultimately you're going to have some rules about who can be in here and who can't be here. And I think that there needs to be some kind of process that's going to be fair to everybody trying to come over here. That's not just going to let one group in and not let the others in. I've heard that they're letting a lot of people from Europe in here, but they're making people from Haiti and Mexico and that are from Black and Hispanic heritages have to go through more to get here. That's not fair. They need to figure that out.
Okay, guys, so we're down to our last 10 minutes. If you'd like to come up, feel free to hit the link and come on up, express yourself, ask your question. We have a criminal defense attorney here, Calvin Johnson. Every week we have this show on Sunday for Eastern time. It starts at 3. We end at 5 Central, I believe it is. What's your time? 2 to 4, I believe, right?
Yes, 2 to 4. We're almost there. We said 10 minutes. Now I'm going to tell you, my phone's down. My percentage on my iPad is about 3%, but I'm going to switch to my phone in a second. So we're definitely going to do that. So we're still going to do these last 9 minutes or 8 minutes that we got on here. I got y'all covered. I might have to switch to my phone in a second.
Okay. Rocco says you're on point, Mr. Attorney. So he's definitely happy with what you're breaking down.
Well, you know what? I'll tell y'all, listen, I'm not myopic. We have a lot of Trump supporters here. And we have a lot of Democratic supporters here. I just tell the truth. There are some things that Mr. Trump is doing that a lot of people like and they think should be done. But I'm no fool. He's always done things that's going to interest himself and put the people like his friends in a better situation. And I think you're foolish if you think he's just doing this to help you. He's always done things to help himself, and that's what he's going to continue to do. Nothing against him. I'm just telling the truth like it is.
Okay. Talib says, what are inalienable human rights, sir?
You know, it's just, you know, that I hate to say it, it's going to be left to interpretation. You know, some people think you deserve certain rights and some people think you don't. And it's up for us to define that. And what is that definition going to be? Is it going to be for everybody, no matter how you came over here? Or is it going to be for everybody plus how you came over here? Or is it just going to be for the people that are here and everybody else that's come here? They don't have rights. I mean, it's going to be a situation where we're going to have to define that as a country and as a people. And that as time goes on, we're going to have to figure out, what's going to happen with that.
All right. Cheryl Woods is rocking and rolling. She says, and thank you. I appreciate you, Cheryl, so much. She says, remember, he was president before. But good luck with that argument.
Hey, I always tell people, like, I try to tell people at the same time, I have nothing against Mr. Trump. He can do what he want to do. I'm not a big Democrat either, so please don't think that I'm some Clark can't remember where I'm support everything that comes out of their mouth. I'm just being straight up. I'm being honest. And my whole deal is one side wants to point themselves as an angel, the other as a devil. And I think that people are clearly doing what's in their best interest. And I think anybody is foolish to believe that somebody's just doing something to help you when they've had a track record of not only doing that, but just doing that to help themselves. And I think people should see it for what it is. I mean, yes, he's doing some things that some people like, but he's not doing it all the way to always benefit the common man. Sometimes he's doing it to make sure he takes care of himself.
Okay, we have a lot of people in the building. Please hit the like button, share, and subscribe. We do this every week. Same time, folks. Please keep tuning in also during the week as well. Talib deserves an award. She's commented so much, or he's commented so much tonight. I just want billionaires to pay their fair share. They won't even notice the 2% tax. It wouldn't change their quality of life. What do you think, Calvin?
Well, see, that's the thing that you got to be careful about. When you start taxing success, and then some people say, well, I've made the decision, I've did the work, I've did the investment, why should I give up an extra amount of money? Don't get me wrong, I think that the billionaires should pay their fair part. That's why I don't think that they deserve a tax break. I don't think they deserve this tax break that Mr. Trump is giving them. But at the same time, do you want to automatically start taxing them to where they decide to put their money overseas, or they decide to hide it in a bank account, or they decide to invest in another country? You got to be careful with that. I think there has to be a happy medium with that. And I'm not here for advocating for billionaires. I'm just telling you just the way it is. We got to be careful about going after successful people just because they're successful. At the same time, we shouldn't be cutting their taxes. They should pay their fair part. So I'm kind of in the middle of that when it comes to that kind of thing.
Okay, Mer, definitely keeps them coming. She says, hello, it's all about balance. Okay, Couture Leotard says, states were trying to make decisions for all, and that's not their job.
Well, see, therein lies the issue too, is you get a lot of people that are going to say, hey, how involved should states be in decision making, and what do they have the right to do or not to do?
Okay. All right, Stuart Bell, thank you for participating. It's a new name, I believe. Says, go try starting your own company if you don't think it's fair. Without them, you are jobless.
And then this is one thing I'm gonna have to do, y'all. I'm gonna have to transfer over to my phone because I know that my iPad is running on 1%, and so I know it's coming. So I'm getting ready to switch over.
We could entertain your last statement and close out. We only have 3 minutes left, so
Yeah.
if you want to
Let me
do
tell
that.
you this. I actually want to make sure I finish this out. So I'm gonna go on. I'm gonna let myself in. I'm gonna converse. Y'all hold on for a second.
Okay, so in the interim, folks, let me give you a little layout of what's going to happen going forward. We have quite a few cases coming up. We have Carmelo Anthony. I'll be traveling to Texas to cover that for you. Bring back the notes, discuss it with Calvin. We also have a body language expert. So many great things in store. I'm covering one of Brian Steele's cases in September. It's Young Thug's brother is up for a RICO trial, so I'll be covering his case. His name is Gregory King, and so stay tuned. We have a lot of cases, but on the day-to-day, we cover Trump. We cover whatever's hot in the press. We're going to cover it, folks. Definitely will. So come through and support us at lunchtime. We have a morning show and also evening shows. So whenever you could fit in, and also give your comments. Calvin, tell us what you think.
Go back and ask a question.
Okay, great. So what was my last question to you? I do not recall at this moment, but I'll ask you a new question. When it comes to the case that we're going to be working on next, with the big case, Carmelo Anthony, what role do you think you'll be able to play, being that it's right in your backyard as far as the channel and so forth? Will you be bringing us the inside scoop?
Well, that's what I'm going to try to do, definitely, because I know the lay of the land, the layout of the county. I'll be able to tell you where to go and how to get into the courtroom, and give you a little background on who the judge is and how he operates his business. That judge, Judge John Rose Jr., is a very fair judge. He's very, very on point. He's not going to play any games with anybody. And I'll be able to kind of tell you what the makeup of Collin County is, and what's happening down here in the Dallas area. Because when you have a case in a particular area, just like y'all had your case in New York, y'all been doing Puffy for years. Y'all to kind of know the lay of the land and the lay of the legal system out in New York, just like I know the lay of the land and the legal system out here in Dallas, Texas. And so I'm going to provide you with some insight and a different look into how law is practiced here in this part of Texas. And hopefully I can give you a unique perspective on what I think is going to happen, because I've practiced law here for so long.
Okay, very good. We look forward to all that you're going to bring to the channel. It's incredible. DJ Genesis, go along with your question.
Yeah, I have two questions. One is the other thing that was happening is that prisoners are now under like the threat of deportation as well. Is that a real threat that what Trump is talking of, what he's in the works with being able to send actual incarcerated people to other countries? Is that like a real threat that we might be facing in the future?
No, listen, what he's doing, if you're a criminal in jail and you never were an American citizen, he can go in and they can deport you. What they're doing is they're placing holds on people that were not citizens, that were in this country illegally. And let's say you got 20 years and they're letting you do their time. What they're doing is they're leaving the immigration hold on you, and instead of letting you get out and just walk free, if they know you're not a citizen, they're deporting you. They're not going to be able to deport prisoners that are American citizens to other country. That's not going to happen.
See, that's been a big mistake. There's a lot of rumors going on online. I want to make sure we dispel
That's
some.
not going to happen.
And the other thing is that Carmelo Anthony has money that is in a give send go account, and a lot of the people that go to jail or prison or whatever, they raise money in this way. Why is it that people can try to legally stop this money from being able to be given to the families of the people so that they can help them with their legal case? And is there anything else that they should possibly do if this money is being frozen for some reason? What can you do if you're in a situation where you need to raise money and these companies are freezing the money? And why is that such a thing that they could even legally do?
Because it looks like you're not spending the money on the legal defense, and you have to make it clear what you're spending the money on. Like in Carmelo Anthony's situation, a lot of it is because they really cannot live regular lives. The parents can't go to work like they used to. The son can't get a job because he's on a leg monitor. But at the same time, they're expected to maintain their house, their car notes, and their bills. And so I think that family needs to make it clear what that money is going to be spent on when they start raising it. Number two, to me, I would have liked the family to be able to come out and say, hey, look, based on the situation, I can't work. My wife will no longer work because of the threats. Whatever you're giving us is helping us sustain ourselves through this trial. We're not using this money to ravish through it. We're using it for real living expenses and security to make sure that we can maintain as we fight for our sons' lives. Something like that should have been said and done, and they should have kept a steady log of how they were going to use that money. To me, that would have cleared that up and made it simple. And I don't think that was done very, very well.
Okay, Calvin. So we reached our time, so we'll take one comment and one more question and have you close out. Lone Wolf and the Lion Cub, thank you so much for all your participation. Thanks for coming back. We appreciate it. He said, Brother Calvin is the man. All right.
Hey, man, we appreciate y'all. I know the crew didn't jump in this time as much. And next week, y'all welcome back to rock with us. We just have to come and kind of have this format because we're trying to grow. Also, those that are in the crew, we want to continue to help you guys grow. But at the same time, we got to come out here. We got to keep it professional. We want to make sure that we provide a outlet for you to go get your legal news, to talk about the hot cases from somebody who reports it, Mel, from somebody who organizes what we're doing, DJ Genesis, and me, Attorney Calvin D. Johnson. I'm here to be able to provide the legal side using my knowledge that I've gained over the last 25 years. And so once again, thank you for rocking out with us. We hope to see you soon, and let's see what we can do in the future. That girl Henny, we didn't get you this time, but next time we're gonna bring you back in at the hour point next week when we have this podcast. And so come back and rock with us and see it. Uda, everybody else that's been rocking with us, Lone Legal Wolf, everybody else, Queen, everybody who's always supported us when we do this show. Y'all come back, rock with us next week, and we'll have y'all at the hour and 15-minute point, and we'll have a panel going on. We want to provide what's happening, what's hot and legal, and we want to give the general public an opportunity to come on here and interact with us. And we want to be like there's nothing else on YouTube. We're actually going to do a show. We're actually going to bring you on live, and we're going to let you interact with us. So we're going to be a different kind of legal podcast. And so if you're trying to grow yourself, grow your brand, and also have serious legal questions, come rock out with us.
All right. Thank you very much. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week. But also during the week, we'll have various shows. So feel free to stop in for lunch for hot clips and so much more. And again, thank you so much, Calvin, for coming on, giving us that valuable insight. We know it's very expensive to have an attorney just to get a consult, and you're doing this out of your kindness and out of your intelligence every week. I just want to say you're a gentleman and a scholar. Thank you, DJ Genesis, for all you do as well. And we'll catch you guys next week.
Thank you.
When you're facing the justice system, it can feel overwhelming. That's why having a champion like attorney Calvin Johnson in your corner is crucial. With a proven track record in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Calvin fights tirelessly for his clients, whether it's a minor infraction or a serious charge. He knows how to make the courtroom less intimidating, guiding you with expertise and genuine care. When your future is on the line, you deserve an attorney who is dedicated to winning your case. Choose Calvin Johnson because your defense matters.